You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country. Hey everyone, welcome to the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we unwind, relax, and delve into all things hammock related. Join us as we swing into the world of hammocks, exploring tips and tricks for setting up that perfect hang, sharing stories of outdoor adventures, and discovering the latest trends in hammock camping and relaxation. Whether you're a seasoned hammocker or new to the art of hanging, this podcast is your cozy corner to kick back, escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and soak in the soothing atmosphere of the hammock culture. Prepare to be inspired, educated, and entertained as we embrace the hammock lifestyle together. So grab your favorite hammock, find that perfect spot to hang, and let's embark on a hammock-filled journey that will leave you feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to take on the world. This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air. Let's get started.
Howdy there, hangers. Welcome to this week's episode of the Hammock Hangers Podcast. And this week we have one of our good Denmarkian friends from Denmark, Rasmus Madsen, or as a lot of you guys may know, Fimbul Outdoors from the popular Instagram feed. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know that we've been trying to kind of line this up for a while, and I'm glad the stars aligned on both of our scales, mostly mine,
Yeah.
that we could put it together. But yeah, so Rasmus or Fimbul, do you have a preference which one we go by? Just
No. Whatever you feel is appropriate.
So you're a blogger and you do have a YouTube, but your primary social media is on Instagram.
Yes.
And for those of you that may not be familiar, I would definitely go over and check out his Instagram. You post some really awesome hammocking, outdoor, bushcraft content. But I would say, like, out of like as far as Instagram goes, I simply am in love with just your photography style. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that's probably one of my favorite outdoor Instagram channels that I follow, just because I don't know how you do it. You have like voodoo with a camera. I really enjoy just the content that you put out, the videos, the photography, and just the editing that goes into that. It is pretty much probably beyond my skill set, which I can thoroughly appreciate what you do. And also, I would just point out that Rasmus was kind of my savior in Denmark because he provided me a essential elixir that I need to function, and he provided me with coffee one morning after I had coffee for like 3 days, and I had like this caffeine headache, and so. You were my savior. I thoroughly appreciate that.
We gotta have it. Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot going to the Danish Outdoor Festival and HangCon Europe this past year, and a significant amount of things that I'll change as far as like packing and along those lines.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
having coffee easily accessible is a definite thing that I will be changing out of. Like,
Yeah. I know. I usually don't. I need my coffee, and I absolutely prioritize it on every trip I'm on. Absolutely.
It was definitely one of those things that I think when we were packing, we couldn't bring like fuel that I usually just bring a propane thing. Obviously, I
Yeah.
can't fly with that. And it was not something that I guess I had thought about. Oh, well, where's an easily accessible place I can pick that up? But next year, definitely a wood burning stove, and or some sort of plan. I think Shug said that he stopped somewhere in Copenhagen at like an outdoor stop and picked up stuff. I may also have to make
Yeah,
that trip
yeah,
next year because, ooh, coffee needs to happen.
absolutely.
So let's go ahead and start talking about like your, I like to say your camping origin story. So how did you get involved with just camping in general? Is that something that you picked up later in life, or is it something that you've kind of always done?
A little bit of both, really. When I was a boy, I enjoyed, going to the forest or on my parents' property and, build a hideout or pitch a tent and just go camping, having a good time. Um, and later on in life, I joined the military, and I got to camp a lot while I was serving. Uh, Not in hammocks though, but under tarps and in bivvies and such. And
Hmm.
while I was in the military, I also developed an interest for motorcycle riding, and I went on a lot of trips again with a tent um, around the country and participated in what do you call it, rallies, or what do you call it? When people gather
Yeah,
on
motorcycle rallies. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I met my wife, and we got kids and all that good stuff, and time it wasn't really right for me to do much camping. But as time went by, the kids got older, and suddenly I found that I had a little more me time. So I was at the time being pretty interested in kayak fishing, and ended up buying a secondhand fishing kayak. And a lot of these guys that I was following on YouTube, um, went camping while they were out fishing, and I was like, wow, I need to try that. It looks amazing. And I started doing it again with a tent until I discovered hammock camping. Some
And
dude,
so, how did you discover hammock camping?
it was YouTube really.
Okay.
Um, I stumbled over this guy who camped, an American guy who went down the river and pitched his hammock, and he was really good at presenting all of this in a style that really spoke to me. So again, I was hooked, and I said to my wife, I need to try this. It looks so great. And she went ahead and bought me a hammock for my birthday. It was a DD hammock frontline, a pretty basic hammock, really, and usually the one people over here in Denmark starts with. Um, and I was hooked immediately. And
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I noticed kind of when we were over at the Danish Outdoor Festival. Like your version of the DD version is kind of our Eno hammock,
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of kind of like that entry level gear that everybody, it's the gateway drug that everybody kind of gets into and like, oh, this can work. This, I
yeah,
really do like this.
yeah, absolutely. But I must admit, I'm a bit of a gearhead, and it
I
made
know not of what you speak. I have no idea what you're talking about.
it didn't take me long until I discovered that there might be something a bit better out there. So then just rolled from there.
So what? So I know that on your channel you have a lot of war bonnet gear as well as amok
Yeah,
as well. So which one did you transition to after the DD?
it was really the Hennessy hammock I
Okay.
transitioned into. Um, you know, all this kayak fishing, camping stuff. I was I wanted to, you know, kind of make a blog and preserved some of my memories, really, mostly for myself. But I like to share my experiences with others, and I got in contact with a local outdoor shop who happened to sell Hennessy hammocks, and he had noticed that what I was about to develop, and we made an agreement that he lent me a variety of his hammocks from his shop to review, and as a thank you for this, I got to keep one of them.
Oh, okay,
It's
nice.
a Hennessy Explorer, and yeah, I loved it. I used it for many years. It was
Now, it was
significantly
that's
bigger.
kind of the series that was like the bottom entry
No.
Hennessy, or
The zipper
okay,
version. Yeah,
okay.
the bottom entry wasn't for me. I tried one of those, and you know, I like
That
to
has to
sit
be
in
a
hammock
hammock
with
that
them.
I've never really tried to use. I've never. I don't think I've even seen one. I would say out of the manufacturers, as far as like American manufacturers, which I want to say I might be wrong about this, but
Yeah,
I want to say Hennessy is Canadian.
yeah, it
Um,
is.
but I know very little about the Hennessy hammock, other than I know a lot of people talk about that bottom entry
Yeah.
hammock, but
I think they still sell them, but I don't think really. Yeah, maybe some people who are disabled or something in a
hmm,
wheelchair could benefit from it, but other than that, I don't think they really sell them anymore.
gotcha, gotcha. Well, that sounds like a great way to kind of uh, fix the sensation of trying out new gear is being able to try things out. You've got a local shop that's willing to let you try things, and you get to try new gears and make reviews, and it's kind of a really great thing. Something that I think I've talked about doing, and I probably could do easily, considering I've spent as much money as I have on
Yeah.
few pieces here and there. But yeah, that's great. So what brought you to Warbot?
Um, let me see. It was really when I started making my own gear. I started making underquilts because it was pretty expensive to have them shipped over here from the US. At the time, there wasn't really anyone doing underquilts in Europe.
Hmm.
There was a guy in England, UK Hammocks, I think his brand was called, um, but that was about the only thing you could get. And I started making underquilts myself, and suddenly I found that a lot of people wanted me to make underquilts for them, and you
Now, were
know
you making down or synthetic or?
in the beginning it was synthetic. Um, there's a local factory here where I live that produces a synthetic
Mhm.
fill that almost it feels a bit like down, but it's really some foil that's shredded into little pieces and combined with some fluffy polyester balls, really.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I started making underquilts with that filling. Um, and then I was a guy from a shop called Bushcraft Denmark, Jesper Hede, reached out to me, and because he was at the time the only one who sold war bonnet hammocks in Europe.
Hmm.
And he reached out to me and asked if I could make a Danish version of the Wookiee,
Oh, okay.
because he got a lot of people asking for it, but it was too expensive for him to import it and resell it over here.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, I don't know, maybe I can, but I've never seen one before, so you gotta help me out a bit. So he took a lot of photos and sent them to me, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So I made a prototype and sent it to him, and he was like, "Yes, yes, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for." So he ordered a bunch of them, and I got to say, I told him that I didn't have a war bonnet hammock, so in order for it to align with the hammock, he needed to send me one. So
Right. I mean,
so that's how I got my first.
product development here, folks.
Yeah. So I really, yeah, you can say that I made not a direct copy of the Wookiee because I hadn't seen one in real life, but I made it out of with the inspiration from it, and so it's quite similar in design with the asymmetrical lay and the way the baffles are sewn onto a essentially another hammock really.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
So that's how I got into war bonnets, and it's been one of my go-to hammocks ever since, really.
Gotcha. And which war bonnet model do you use with the majority of the time?
It has to be the XLC.
XLC. Okay.
I've got a single layer DreamTex. That's my preferred war bonnet hammock at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really do like that DreamTex fabric that they
Yeah,
have.
me too.
I have, I want to say my very first real hammock was an XLC. I want to say it was kind of the first generation that they had made of the XLC. And
Yeah.
it was the old,
The
just
heavy duty.
the heavy duty.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was ripstop nylon. It was just kind of a nylon fabric, and it worked. I mean, it was good. But when they came out with that DreamTech stuff, it was a significant improvement over the original
Absolutely.
fabric.
I didn't like the first one, the heavy duty one. I couldn't. I got a lot of calf rich, and I just couldn't make it in it. It wasn't for me.
I would say that the calf ridge definitely was helped with the newer fabric.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I don't know. For me, the original fabric kind of had a weird skin feel to it, and so the new DreamTex fabric feels significantly better. I'll say all of my Ridge Runners that I have are the DreamTex, and I eventually ended up buying one of the XLCs in the DreamTech fabric. So yeah. Now another hammock that you use quite a bit is your Amok Ramor, and that seems to be now Amok is not a huge company, a presence. That they are present in the United States, but when we were over in Denmark, I have never seen so many Amoks here in the States. If we would go to HangCon here, we might have 2 or 3 out of the 500 people that are hanging, but over there it was a significant percentage were using the Amok.
It's very popular, yeah, for sure. And I don't know, maybe it's because Norway is our brother country. I don't know, but it definitely appeals to a lot of Danes. I don't know if it's the chair mode or whatever it is. It's also really easy to get hold of one here, and so that's maybe some of the reason.
Yeah, I would say that, and that's a conversation that I had a lot with friends from Denmark about just the availability. Well, not just the availability, but the cost factor.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what we don't realize is, we go on, a website here and, we just see a price and boom, 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 done. And that's all we pay. Yeah. But you guys, I mean, you take that price and almost double it by the time you pay import fees and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes 40% on top of it. So yeah, it can.
I did have when we were over there, numerous people come up to me and offer just to buy my complete rig, double what we paid for it. I was just like, I can't, but maybe next year, maybe I'll just bring another check bag. It's like, hey, I'll sell
Yeah,
you
yeah.
this. Although I did tell myself the next time we come over, I am not taking a check bag at all. I am just tearing personal item and carry on, and not having to deal with any of that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so when so I think travel in Europe is still probably a lot of people don't really understand just how small and close a lot of the European countries are. So you guys tend to travel to a lot of different countries pretty frequently. So when you do a lot of your camping, is it in specifically Denmark, or I know you just came back from Sweden? So what are some of your favorite places in Europe to camp?
Well, I primarily camp in Denmark, and other than that, I love Sweden because the nature in Sweden is so much different than in Denmark. Denmark, we are a very small and country that's, it's almost entirely fields and agriculture. Agriculture, it's
Hmm.
called over here, and in Sweden, you got these big forests and lakes and archipelagos, and it's completely different. So I think a lot of Danes like to go camping in Sweden, especially those that live close by on Zealand, where you were at the festival.
Hmm.
It's just a bridge, and then you're in Sweden.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't think that I just realized just how close everything was. Like Sweden, just right over the bridge is
Yeah,
right there.
it is.
Um, I and also just it kind of really opened my eyes to where else I would like to go in Europe, and I think a lot of Americans when they think of Europe, obviously the UK is kind of a big draw because it's kind of like the motherland for a lot of
Yeah,
Americans, but they think of Spain or France or Italy, but like I've really become enthralled in looking into not just Sweden, but man, some of the pictures that I've seen from folks that had gone to Norway,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
Norway has become
Hmm.
like my new bucket list place to go. But if you would have asked me a year ago, like where do you see what countries in Europe do you see yourself in the next 10 years? I don't know if any of those Scandinavian countries would really even have ticked the top five. But now it's like yes, maybe one, two, and three. Just
Yeah, yeah. I feel the same way. I've been to Southern Europe, and but I'm not good at too much sun and warmth. I like the Scandinavian weather. Uh, it needs to be a little cooler, and I don't mind a little rain every now and then. So I'm perfectly fine up here north.
I can completely relate to that. A couple days ago, actually, it may have been yesterday, was my 17th anniversary of living in Florida. And yeah, I'm still not used to the heat. They said, oh, you lived here long enough, you'll get used to the heat. That is lies.
Yeah.
Lies. It is still hot, and I still do not like it, and I am still
Yeah.
not used to it. Oh, my goodness. So now, when you talk about the different styles of camping that you do, you talk about kayak camping, motorcycle camping, just like going out and camping, campgrounds or campsites or stuff. But you do a lot of bushcraft stuff
Mhm.
as well. Does that kind of stem from your time in the military, or is that something that you've kind of always kind of been interested in?
Um, I don't know. I think it's the really the inner boy in me who likes to build stuff and imagine you're alone in the woods or on a deserted island or something. I don't know. It just kind of appeals to me, and I like the simplicity. And it might sound weird from a guy who's a gearhead, but I really like to keep it simple
Hmm.
sometimes. And yeah, I enjoy going. Here in Denmark, we don't have those remote places really. You can't really get lost anywhere because there's always a road or a house somewhere nearby. But I have my spots where I can go to and pretend I'm up north in Canada or whatever, and just play around. So that's kind of what I do.
I can definitely kind of relate to that because I remember, growing up, creating those lean-to shelters. We had a woods in our backyard that went back a few acres, and we could go in and, like you said, kind of that feel of being lost in the woods. Like, well, what if I had to survive on my own? Like, just
Yeah,
kind of that mental. Imaginary play that even we do as adults as
yeah,
well, and kind of tap into that 100%. I really think I wish we did more of that. I think kind of maybe the bushcrafting scene over here is just it feels a little bit more like, oh well, we're kind of preparing for the apocalypse kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So it's kind of a weird vibe sometimes. But I've gone to uh, some bushcraft things here recently, and it's just like just playing around with stuff. Like, just here's some skills that, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, you're probably never going to have to use this,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's really cool to just have that um, little random nuggets of knowledge that you can say, hey,
Exactly.
I know how to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I'm
or
not
if
a
nothing else, they make great party tricks at campfires.
yeah, and I'm not a prepper or anything or survivalist at all. No,
Right.
not at all. But the style and the tools and all that good stuff. It just appeals to me, and I find it interesting sometimes to go that route.
Yeah,
When not,
I completely agree. I
yes.
completely agree. So what type of, like, if you were going on a strict bushcraft thing, are you building a shelter with the I guess the mindset of still using a hammock, or are you preferring to sleep on the ground, or kind
Nope,
of
no, no, no,
how,
no, no.
how do you
Don't say that.
incorporate, I guess, hammocks into your bushcraft?
I'm always bringing in a hammock. Um, always. I don't do good on the ground anymore. I've got some lower back issues, and
Hmm.
I've got arthritis in my right shoulder. And no, I am a night on the ground, and I feel like an 90-year-old man the next day. So
And I'm sure that zaps any enjoyment that you have out of the trip.
no, so I always bring a hammock, and I might build a shelter, around the campfire to hang out in, and make some tripods and a chair or a table or whatnot, something like that. It's usually just smaller bushcraft projects, and and lighting the fire on a primitive way, and yeah, so I'm not a fanatic at all with my bushcrafting, if you could say that, but
Gotcha. Yeah,
it's just
because you do a lot of stuff with hot tents as well.
yeah, 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 yeah. I love hot
So,
tents.
so that's something that I have just kind of gotten into the last couple years. I love the space
Hmm.
that the hot tent provides. I think the one that I have, and it's not anything special. I think it's kind of an Amazon special that I kind of picked up,
Yeah,
but I love the fact that even when we have it set up, like at HangCon this past year, I used my hot tent, and it wasn't because it was super cold, but with the walls down and the doors closed, I could make my sleeping area pitch black.
yeah.
And where we are set up at HangCon, there's like this light that you can't turn it off, and is just blaring. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, it looks like it's noon outside just because of the
Yeah,
light
yeah,
where I have to set up. But in that hot tent, I was able to bunker down and just cut all the light, and I slept so much better. The whole like having a stove inside the hot tent is still kind of a little weird for me, and I don't know if I'll go that route. But I like the idea of it.
You know, it needs to be it needs to be winter in order for me to use a stove in a tent, of course. Otherwise, it'll just get too hot and it doesn't make
It's too
sense.
hot, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's nice having that stove in there. You can just set your kettle on it and get your water boiling for your coffee. And again, it really all boils down to the coffee. Like,
yeah. And
so,
waking up in the morning and just getting the stove running and lying back in the hammock and enjoying the fire and the warmth that comes into the tent. It's amazing when
I
it's
completely agree.
howling outside and freezing, and you're just sitting in there in a t-shirt. Yeah, I love it.
It just it blows my mind. Some not necessarily a lot of where we camp, but some of our northern friends that will go camping into like the negative temperatures, and
Yeah,
I'm just like this is insane. But the hot tent having that stove and having that there's just something special about watching a fire, whether it be in a stove or just tending to a fire. There's
yeah,
something I don't know, just sort of primitive about it that is
it
just
is.
really
I
cool.
can do it for hours and hours. I
Yeah.
just love it.
So out of all the type of camping that you do you have a preference to like motorcycle or kayak or just
Well,
camping?
I don't ride a motorcycle anymore. It's been quite a few years since I
Okay.
had one, but I love kayak and canoe camping. Um, it has to be probably my favorite ways to camp. But I enjoy backpacking as well. So I don't know. It really depends on where I'm going and how much time I've got. Um,
Gotcha. So where's your favorite places to hike?
um, phew.
I'm coming up with my itinerary for the next time I'm in Denmark, so
Yeah,
I'm taking notes here.
yeah. I like to hike along the beach. Um,
Okay.
I live very close to a fjord, uh, an inlet, and I've got a lot of beaches here, and I like to go hiking along those. And unfortunately, there's not too many places to pitch a hammock, so I gotta be a bit. I got to do I get to do my homework before I can bring my hammock on those trips. But it really doesn't matter to me where I'm going. To me, it's all about getting out and making camp. That's the essential thing for me. Uh, it's really not the hike itself. It's more getting somewhere and making camp and
Hmm.
staying there. And that's what I enjoy the most.
I can definitely relate to that. Definitely relate to that. I like I definitely enjoy camping a lot more now in the last few years or hiking. But again, I really do like that making camp, making that outdoor home
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Um, and just saying, hey, I'm going to make this place my home, and I'm going to enjoy the time that I have here. I yeah, I know a lot of hikers that enjoy the hike, but they hate the camping part of it.
yeah.
But I'm the other way. Like I enjoy the hike, and but again, like yourself, that being in one place and kind of seeing how I can make that particular location feel like home,
Yeah,
it's kind of really cool. So
that's
I'm also hearing that we really need to talk Cal and Kristen into from Yobo Gear into coming over and
yeah.
so Cal and Kristen, you guys need to get this guy a stand. He oh me.
I
So
I've seen their gear, and the backpacking version absolutely looks great. I'm looking forward
it's
to see what. comes out of it.
I'm excited about the Cricket Ultralight that I've heard rumors of, and I've
Yeah, yeah,
seen the prototypes at HangCon, and it feels very much like witchcraft. Like 4 pounds, it's gonna hold like
yeah.
this.
Wow.
Like you say 4 pounds, but when you pick up the stand, it doesn't. It feels like it doesn't weigh anything,
Yeah,
and that's gonna hold me for the whole night. Oh, it's
yeah,
crazy. It's crazy. So, you talked about documenting your adventures,
yeah.
and I've talked about your Instagram, which is amazing. How did you kind of get into Instagram itself?
Um, I think it was because I actually went on, you could call it a blind date, really, with another guy who was
Okay.
into hammocking, and he was actually having a Instagram profile, and I was he told me about it and showed me what he had done, and I was like, wow, sounds great. At the time, I was making a little bit of YouTube, but I found it to be pretty time consuming, and
Hmm.
it took a lot of time to edit and upload, and yeah, it could be a little hard sometimes when you got a family and other things to attend to. So the the Instagram thing just sounded a little bit easier to it sounded as an easier way to document your trips and to share your experiences. So I just started, and I don't know, people kind of liked it, so it just took off.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy your pictures and the
Thank you.
videos that you put out as well. Do you have any tips for people that would like to do more with Instagram? And how are you able to kind of get some of the angles that you get? And do you use a separate like photo editor other than the Instagram ones, or kind of what's your process for that?
I always just use my phone, and at the moment I'm having a Samsung S24 Galaxy, and the angles and positions and all that, that comes with experience. Sometimes you just need to go through a lot of pictures to to learn how to get the right angles and what works for you. And when it comes to editing, I sometimes use an app, a Google app called Snapseed, if you
Okay.
know that one. Um, and I just tweak my pictures a bit in there. If I'm not satisfied with what the phone offers, so yeah, that's really all I do. Um, so that's
Which
nothing.
it sounds, yeah, it sounds that the quality content that you produce is still very accessible, not just as far as equipment goes, but as far as like a skill set goes as well. Like it's really uh, user friendly for pretty much anybody. I completely agree that YouTube is very time consuming, and as far as the video editing, which I absolutely hate doing. And it does take a lot of time, and like you said, with families going on, and life happens.
Yeah, yeah,
um it does make life that YouTube content, especially putting content out on a regular basis to
yeah,
kind of build your channel. But Instagram, you can do little videos here, you can do little videos there. It's not like, oh well, I've got to put together a 20-minute long video with
yeah,
you know X number of things. And yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And I usually just take a ton of pictures when I'm out, and I drop some of them from time to time on my profile, and to make it run really. And
Gotcha.
yeah,
You,
so
you've got a consistent flow of
yeah,
materials
yeah,
going
yeah,
out. Yeah. I think
because
that's
of course
another thing
I
that
can't go out all the time, and I have to attend various family things and and whatnot. So of course I'm not out camping all the time, but it might seem that way though. But
I think that's maybe one thing that I struggle with because I go on these trips and, like you said, you take so many pictures, and I get really excited about the pictures that I took. That I was like, I just want to show everybody. Oh, look at what I shot! Look at what
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen, and look at what
yeah,
I saw. But it's again holding back to like, okay, no, I'm gonna give you little breadcrumbs here and there
yeah,
just to kind of
exactly.
keep everything going along.
Yeah,
So let's talk about the more important things like food and coffee. So so do you have a particular favorite coffee that you take, or whether you'd be at home? I'm a huge coffee snob. So
yeah.
what's your brew of choice?
Well, I must admit that I don't think I'm on your level regarding specific coffee types.
Uh-huh.
I do, I do have some brands that appeals to me and that I like. And when I want to do a little bit of high end coffee, I usually bring whole beans and grind them myself and used various brew methods, whether it's an AeroPress or drip coffee or old school cowboy coffee or you know French press or whatever. But I'm not that picky with the bean itself because I usually just grab what we've got back home. Um,
Gotcha.
I do enjoy trying different types of coffee.
Hmm.
Um, um, and every once in a while I go to a you know what's probably not called a coffee shop but a shop with different beans and
Like a coffee roaster.
yeah exactly, and have a chat with the guys in there, and they usually convince me to try something, and yeah I it's rarely it's rare that I get some coffee that I don't like really. I'm
Gotcha.
yeah.
I wish I could say that that was the case for me. I've got plenty that I. But next time our paths cross, I owe you a few cups of coffee. So
Ooh,
I'll see if I
looking
can hook
forward
you
to
up with
it.
some of my fancy bougie coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will say, as far as camping goes, like this past summer, the AirPress is kind of like my go-to
Yeah, I like it.
as far as camping coffee. It's
Mhm.
it's easy, it packs down, and I can clean it really quick.
Yeah.
So I do like drip when I'm in my classroom. That's usually the kind of the way that I go. Or at home, I have another AirPress that I use quite a bit. But like my wife, she'll do the cold coffee, and I usually make her big batches, and we've got the French press here. So
Yeah.
all the brew methods, all the
Yeah.
brew methods. So
It's
I
true.
was watching. I don't know if it was on your Instagram or YouTube. You were making this sandwich, this bacon wrapped.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
s-
Ooh.
oh
So
my gosh! The inner fat man in me was just like, feed me. It looks so good.
it is.
Do
It
you?
is.
I may have to try that out. I do not have one of the little sandwich irons that you use, but I may have to remedy that because
You
that
don't need
looks.
one. You can just make it on a skillet, really.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
used to
Well,
do that at first, but at some point I was gifted this sandwich iron for my birthday, I think. So
uh-huh.
just makes it a bit easier, but it's not necessary, really.
Like I've seen so many different uses for that, like making like fried pies almost,
Yeah, yeah.
desserts, and like I want to say like a s'more version as well.
Oh,
But I found like yours, like the bacon wrapped around the sandwich was like I can only imagine that being so much better than putting the bacon in, you getting crispy, and so it looked really really good.
It
Do you
was.
have
So,
do you have a particular go-to meal that you say, oh, when I'm going camping, this is what I'm going to have?
uh, no, not really. But when I'm out by myself, I like to bring a big steak,
Hmm.
and just a few veggies of some sort, and yeah, just have a steak and maybe a potato in tin foil on the fire or something.
Okay.
But again, it depends on the trip, and I'm also, if I don't want to carry so much weight, I go with dehydrated meals or freeze dried. Um, but when on group trips, I like to make a stew.
Hmm.
Just hanging in a Dutch oven above the fire for 3 hours or something. That's always a success. I think so.
I mean, if it's anything like that stew that Lars made for
Oh
us that
yeah,
first
yeah,
night
yeah,
there,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm still dreaming about that stew.
Hmm.
It was out of all the wonderful food we had in Denmark, that is the best thing that I ate the entire trip.
It was. It was. Yeah.
So,
He's quite famous for that.
oh, it was really really good. It man, just yeah. Like you said, having something cooking in a cast iron, whether it be a Dutch oven, whether it be a cast iron
Yeah,
skillet, there's
yeah,
just something again that that real fire campground or campfire cooking in a cast iron anything. It
yeah,
just adds
yeah,
that extra layer of complexity that you really wouldn't think, but it makes things so much better.
yeah. And I got to think that I really enjoy making a chicken in a reflector oven.
Oh, okay.
That's probably one of my go-tos. A chicken or a pork roast, and
Hmm.
it especially the pork roast is so much better than in the oven back home because it always gets really juicy and crispy on the outside and it's just perfect. So
Oh, okay.
that's probably my favorite way to cook when we out on group trips or with a couple of buddies.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So a lot of like your YouTube stuff almost feels like you do a lot of solo camping, but do you prefer solo camping or do you prefer group camping?
I actually prefer solo camping, and I
Hmm.
do most of my camping solo. Um, it's not that I'm that introvert or I don't like people or anything, but I enjoy my own company and I like to be
Hmm.
alone. Um, so it's never been an issue for me to go out alone in the woods. Even the first time I was out hammocking, I had no problem with it at all. And I hear a lot of people reaching out to me all the time that how are you able to do that? And are you not afraid? Or what if somebody comes or something like that? But, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't worry about it at all. I just enjoy being there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, do your wife and kids camp?
They do, but of course not as much as me. I'm the outdoor guy in this family, and
Gotcha.
I've got to I don't have to drag them along, but I need to convince them to come along. And as my wife says, she had to develop an interest in going camping because otherwise we wouldn't see each other so much. So
Gotcha.
luckily I've got her into hammock camping now, so that's
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. Now, I know we had talked about a few different things when we were over there, but Denmark doesn't really have any like poisonous snakes, or you don't really have like a lot of things that would eat you.
Gosh.
out in the woods. Have you ever had like what would be your scariest night out in the woods? It's a question that we used to ask a lot of our guests that we haven't asked in a while. But I'll ask you: do you have a particular scariest night in a hammock story?
I actually do. Uh, it it was during the pandemic, and we were home, all of us, and my daughter was in high school at the moment, and she was bored, and I was bored, and we were like, "Hey, let's go camping somewhere and get out of this madness."
Mm-hmm.
So we hiked out to a lake in a beautiful beech forest. It was early spring. We found this amazing spot to set up camp, and we made a fire, and we made some tacos and stuff, and had a good time. And we got to bed. She was in, I think, one of my old Hennessy hammocks, and I was in a mock drowner.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, midnight, I wake up. I think I wake up, but I now know that I was still sleeping. But I heard something, and I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't get up. So I was. It was kind of like a sleep paralysis thing.
Oh, okay.
So I could hear someone walking right next to my hammock, and I wanted to get up and open my eyes and see what it was, and protect my daughter. And when I finally was able to open my eyes, it was pitch black and totally silent, and of course there was no one there. It was all in my mind.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
and I was just sitting there and was, what? What's going on? And I've never tried this before. And I got up and to take a leak and walk around a bit, and we were totally alone out there, no doubt about it. And I got back into the hammock and fell asleep. And an hour later or something, the same thing happened one more time.
Whew.
The first time I heard two old ladies, I thought, walking by with their dog. And the second time I heard a man talking to himself. And again, I had so much trouble waking up and open my eyes. And when I finally did, it was still pitch black, and yeah, it was really creepy. I never tried that before,
Oh, wow.
or ever
So
since.
maybe you found the most haunted forest in Denmark.
Maybe I don't know.
Have you been back to that place since?
Yeah, I do. It's a
Okay.
great place, and I've camped there a lot of times, so I don't know what happened, but it was really creepy.
Interesting. And you didn't disturb your daughter at all? She just kind of
No,
slept
she
right
was
through
just sleeping like a lark, and
it?
I told her about it the next day, and she said, "Oh, I've tried that a ton of times." I was like, "What?" Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh
really weird.
my. I would say something like that. I don't think has ever happened. But it's good that you woke up and you realized, oh, there's nothing there.
Yeah, yeah,
It was all in your head.
it was.
So so with the traveling that you have done, what are some of the places that are on your bucket list that you haven't been that you would say, I really want to go either to this place for the first time, or I definitely want to go back to this place at some point.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit envious of you Americans, of the nature and different places you got over there. Of course, America is a big country, so it's kind of obvious. But I follow a lot of guys, Canadian guys on YouTube
Hmm.
that go camping up there in canoes, and it has to be on my bucket list to get over there up north, or in northern Minnesota, where where Shook is posting
Oh
his
yeah,
videos
yeah.
from. it appeals to me too. Um,
Oh, I'm sure he would love to take you out on a
yeah,
canoe with
yeah.
the hiking and stuff that he does around the boundary waters are
Yeah, I
it
love
is
it.
really really pretty.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to go there sometime, but to be a bit more realistic, it's probably easier for me to go to Norway or Sweden, and not that expensive.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So have you, as far as mountains and stuff goes, have you ever camped or done anything in like the Alps or?
Not in the Alps. No, I haven't. Um, I've only been to the Alps going skiing on
Okay.
ski holidays and such, but never to backpack or camp that way. No. But I have in
Okay.
Norway, in some of the mountains there,
Hmm.
in a tent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean Norway, just the mountains there, and just the water. The water gets me. Like the
Oh,
color of the water,
yeah, yeah,
just spectacular,
it is.
spectacular. So, do you have any upcoming trips that we can look forward to seeing, or are you still in the planning phase? Or
Well, I'm actually this weekend. I'm heading out with my wife and my youngest son and my mother-in-law. Uh,
okay,
it'll be the
taking the
first.
whole crew.
It'll be her first time ever trying something like this, and first time in a hammock. So I'm setting her up in a Warbonnet Ridge Runner.
Okay,
I think it's
solid
the
choice,
safest,
solid
yeah, the
choice.
safe choice for an old lady. Yeah. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be nice, I think.
Good. Oh, I hope everything goes well. I hope
Yeah, yeah.
everything goes well.
Thanks, thanks.
We definitely can't wait to make it back over there for the Danish Outdoor Festival next year, and HankCon Europe, and we're gonna have to drag you over to Florida in January at
Oh,
some point.
yeah, that would be great. I love that.
Well, good deal, good deal. Well, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with you. And so, where could people find you on Instagram and your social media outlets?
Well, obviously on my Fimbul Outdoors Instagram. I've got a profile on Facebook too, Fimbul Outdoors. Um, yeah, my YouTube is also called Fimbul Outdoors, but I'm not that active in there anymore. So I primarily concentrate on Instagram. So that's where you'll see the most action happening.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I would suggest for those of you that aren't subscribers to definitely head over there. He does some really really cool stuff and really great pictures and just a lovely look into the outdoors out there. So
Thank you so much.
keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I
I
will.
love following along in your adventures.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week, and hope you go check out Rasmus's channels. And until next time, happy hanging, everybody.
As we gently sway out of another hammock-filled episode, we want to thank you, our wonderful listeners, for hanging out with us on the Hammock Hangers podcast. We hope that you have found relaxation, inspiration, and a renewed sense of connection to nature through our discussions. Remember to keep that hammock spirit alive in your daily life, whether it's by taking a few moments to unwind in your own backyard oasis or by planning your next hammock adventure in the great outdoors. Embracing the tranquility, embracing the simplicity, and never forget the joy that comes from simply hanging around. Before we part ways, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all things hammock related. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for the Hammock Hangers Podcast. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to hang with you again on our next episode. Until then, stay relaxed, stay adventurous, and keep on hanging those hammocks high. From all of us here at the Hammock Hangers Podcast, we wish you peaceful hangs and endless relaxation. Thank you for tuning in. Happy hanging, everyone.